I think one of the weirdest things about dating right now is that a lot of people want a relationship, but nobody wants to do the thing that actually creates one: talking. And I don't mean texting somebody, I don't mean replying to a story, I don't mean sending someone a funny video and thinking you're building some deep connection. I mean actually talking to somebody, being in front of another person, having a real conversation, and being comfortable enough to just be yourself. Because for some reason, that has become one of the hardest things for a lot of people. And honestly, I think that's crazy when you think about it. Humans have been doing this forever. People have always met each other through conversation. They didn't have a perfect opening line. They didn't have some secret formula for attraction. They didn't have a 45-minute YouTube video explaining exactly how to act. They just talked. But now we live in a time where you can have hundreds of people on your phone, follow thousands of people online, and still feel completely lost when you're standing in front of someone you actually like. And I think a lot of guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You can talk normally with your friends, you can joke around, you can be completely yourself. But the second there's a girl you actually find attractive, everything changes. Suddenly your brain stops working. You start thinking about every little thing you're doing. Was that weird? Did I sound nervous? Did she notice I was nervous? And instead of actually having a conversation with her, you're having a conversation with yourself in your own head. So why is this happening? I think the answer is actually pretty simple. A lot of people just stop practicing. And I don't mean that in a way where I'm saying guys are lazy or something is wrong with them. I think a lot of us grew up in a world where avoiding uncomfortable situations became way too easy. Because think about how different socializing is now. If you want to talk to someone, you don't have to call them, you can text. If you like someone, you don't have to walk up and introduce yourself, you can message them. If you're bored or uncomfortable for even a few seconds, you can immediately escape into your phone. And again, I'm not saying phones are bad. Technology is amazing. The internet has made life easier in a lot of ways, but there is one downside. It gives us a way to avoid the exact situations that build confidence. Because confidence isn't something you're just born with. Nobody comes out of the womb knowing how to be charismatic. Nobody naturally knows exactly what to say in every conversation. People become confident because they do something enough times that it stops feeling scary. They get experience, they get comfortable. They learn that awkward moments aren't actually a big deal, but if you constantly avoid those moments, you never get the chance to learn that. You stay stuck. And I think that's where a lot of people are right now. They want the confidence, but they haven't built the experience that creates confidence. And the internet makes this even harder because it tricks you into feeling like you're improving without actually improving. You can watch videos about dating, you can learn about confidence, you can study social skills, you can understand every theory about attraction, but eventually you have to actually do it. Knowing how to swim and being in the water are two completely different things, and I think that's the problem a lot of people run into. They know everything about dating, they just don't have enough real world experience. And that's where online confidence becomes a problem, because a lot of guys actually are confident, just not in real life. Online, you have control. You can think before you respond. You can delete something if it sounds dumb. You can rewrite your message. You can show the best version of yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. But real life doesn't work that way. Real life is messy. You don't get to edit your sentence before it comes out. You don't get to pause the conversation while you think of the perfect response. You don't get to completely control how someone reacts. You're just there. And that can feel terrifying if you've spent years avoiding those situations. But here's the thing, those awkward moments are exactly what create confidence. Every person you've ever met who seems naturally confident has had embarrassing moments. They've said things that didn't land. They've had weird conversations. They've gotten rejected. The difference is they didn't let those moments stop them. They realized something important. Being awkward isn't actually that painful. Your brain makes it seem way worse before it happens. A lot of guys are sitting there imagining rejection as this horrible life-changing event. Like if a girl isn't interested is somehow proof that something is wrong with them, but that's not reality. Sometimes someone just isn't interested. Sometimes the conversation isn't there. Sometimes you don't click. That's normal. The problem is a lot of people never get enough experience to realize that. They live entirely inside their imagination. And inside your imagination, rejection is always worse because your brain creates the most extreme version of something you've never experienced. But the second you actually do it, you realize, oh, that was it. I'm still alive. And that's how confidence is built. not by convincing yourself you're confident, by proving to yourself that you can handle uncomfortable situations. I also think another thing making dating harder right now is that people have access to fake versions of connection. You can consume so much content about relationships and dating that it almost feels like you're participating without actually building anything. You can watch people talk about love, you can learn about attraction, you can see other people's relationships online, but none of that replaces actually connecting with another human being. Because real people aren't scripted, real conversations aren't perfect, real attraction isn't some movie scene where everything happens exactly how you imagined. Sometimes you're going to say something dumb, sometimes someone won't like you back, sometimes a conversation is just going to be awkward, and that's okay. That's literally how being human works. But I think we've become so used to controlled environments that normal human interaction feels uncomfortable. So what do you actually do about this? Honestly, you get reps. That's the boring answer, but it's the truth. You don't need some fake confidence routine. You don't need to pretend to be someone you're not. You don't need to become this loud, overly confident person who walks into every room trying to impress everyone. You just need experience. Talk to people, be present, have conversations without treating every interaction like it's some massive test. Because the truth is, most people aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are. Everyone is worried about themselves. Everyone has insecurities. Everyone has moments where they don't know what to say. The difference between someone who is socially confident and someone who usually isn't that one person is special. It's that one person kept showing up. They allowed themselves to be uncomfortable. They allowed themselves to fail. They stopped seeing every awkward moment as proof that something was wrong with them. And I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of guys don't need to become a completely different person. They just need to stop hiding. Because confidence isn't built sitting behind a screen imagining yourself being confident. Confidence comes from going out into the real world, having awkward conversations, making mistakes, and realizing that you're okay. Talking to girls isn't some impossible skill. It's just a human interaction, and the only reason it feels impossible is because a lot of people stopped practicing. So go practice. Be awkward. Say the wrong thing sometimes. Have conversations that go nowhere, because eventually you stop being scared of something you were never supposed to be scared of in the first place. You just have to start. So if you're watching this and you know you've been hiding behind a screen a little too much, take this as your sign to start getting those reps back. Have the conversation, take the chance, be a little awkward, because confidence doesn't come from waiting until you're ready. It comes from doing the thing while you're still uncomfortable. But yeah, that's all I got for this one. Get out there, talk to people, and stop overthinking every interaction.